So welcome to Inadequate Mother. My name's Hayley Brown and I'm back in the studio this week and I'm super excited to have a guest who's travelled all the way from London. She's had a stressful morning, bless her. But she's a mum that I connected with back in lockdown through the lovely Instagram, which is where my journey started. And she created an incredible campaign called Living with Hearing Loss, and basically wanted to advocate for all the people that were really struggling with wearing masks and relied on lip reading. Now, this woman is a mom. So we're going to discuss her journey as a mother and how she has developed her identity as a mom, but a deaf mom. And yeah, we're just going to have a wonderful chit chat. It's the lovely Amy Morton. Thank you so much for coming. Honestly, it's just I'm just so excited to finally meet you in person.
Yes, it's been really lovely, Hayley, to meet you in person. Thank you so much for having me
It's
here.
okay. So the lovely Amy Morton, she has travelled here today to discuss motherhood. Motherhood as a deaf lady and your barriers, your experiences, what it is you want to promote in your platforms, because we met, didn't we,
Yes,
through Instagram? How long
yes.
ago?
I think it was right in the beginning. So I'm stepping into my 5th year. First of all, thank you so much for having me here,
Thank you
Hayley.
for coming. Thank you.
But yes, so I'm stepping into my 5th year.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe 4 years ago when
Yeah.
we accidentally video called each other
Did
on
we bum
Instagram.
call each
I
other
don't
or
know what
something
was
on
going on, but we
WhatsApp?
anyway. I don't know what happened, but it was like, oh, hello. How are you? I was typing and then I'm calling you. Okay. And it was lovely. We just had
Yeah.
a little chat and I was telling you about the campaign that I was starting, the Clarity and Communication campaign. Do you remember?
Clarity and communication
With the
campaign.
masks.
Oh,
It was
that
around
was
that time.
it. I
And it was so
know. I
stressful.
mean,
And that's what
I think, yeah, through COVID
that's through COVID,
and,
that's what started living with hearing loss. Yeah.
yeah, I think, I mean, again, that was something that was just so extreme and
Yes.
pushed everyone into social media a little bit
Yes.
because of that need for connection. But you really highlighted the problem with the masks,
Yes.
weren't you? And
Yeah.
what is it you did with that campaign?
So we ran a local campaign, and we were quite successful. The campaign consisted of approaching small businesses to display a poster and to explain to them that they were well within their rights to be able to lower their mask, because at that time, if you remember, the government were like, you're going to get fined if you, and there's all this control around, and you had to have a pass if you weren't wearing one, and there was so much judgment. It was just horrible. Created a lot of anxiety for lip readers and having that conversation created anxiety, because you weren't sure what response you were going to get. So I took it amongst myself because I was thinking, gosh, how can I navigate this? This is just ridiculous. With a small team of friends to go out to local businesses, small businesses mainly, to explain the exemption card that the government provided, and to explain that you're well within your rights to lower the mask and it's perfectly fine. And so with that, they then displayed a poster in their shop.
So the exemption card was given to deaf people, or
On the
because they were
government
lip
site,
readers?
because they were lip readers, but it wasn't widely available. So I was promoting the exemption card, telling small businesses about it so that they would be able to help bring people out of their homes to go to a coffee shop, for example. I mean, that created so much anxiety.
Yeah.
So if they saw this poster, they'd be like, oh, okay, they understand. It's fine. I can go in. They're not going to create a scene if I ask them to lower their mask and they stand a distance away behind a clear screen. The conversation is just literally in my brain. I said it so many times.
Really?
To so many
So
people.
what gave you the confidence to, I mean, because you are a lip reader?
I'm a lip reader.
Yeah, so you're learning sign language at the moment.
Now, yes,
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
But I rely, so I'm severely deaf in both ears, and I rely on lip reading. And so when that happened, it created a lot of anxiety for me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But the only way I felt I could get through it was by speaking up more and advocating more about my own hearing loss. And with that, it gave me the empowerment to then launch a campaign, and I just pushed through.
Wow. And as a mother,
yeah,
I think you're incredible
Oh.
to be doing, because your children were, what, how old?
They were, so they're 10 and 12 now. So it was,
They'd have been 7 and 5.
Yeah,
That's young.
It was. It
And
was
did
fun.
they understand? Yeah, did they understand like how that environment, that circumstance was affecting their mum, or like other mums are wearing masks and my mum?
Yeah, that was the thing. So my children were looking at me, seeing me struggle, and at times my daughter more so had to speak up on my behalf, which wasn't something as a mother. I'm very independent. I'm like, no, this is my job. You shouldn't be doing that for me. It got me into a bit of a funk. And so that powered me through. That's why I wanted to set an example and to be that role model for them. And
you see that a lot with coders or children of deaf adults, and they have to advocate for their parents, and it's
not. I don't feel it's their job. So I thought, right, big pants on, let's do this. And we were really successful. So we ended up friends from everywhere, all corners, friends of friends rallied round to support me. One friend wrote a press release for me.
Amazing.
And we were successful with BBC Breakfast, London Live.
Ooh.
And Hello Magazine, Female First.
Wow.
And that was during Deaf Awareness Week.
Right.
Which was coincidental, Hayley, and wasn't planned. It all just came in the right moment. So I do feel that I'm going to go woo-woo now. I do feel that I am, like, there is a reason.
There's a universe.
There's something going on.
Yeah.
That I'm on the right track in doing what I should be doing. And but it was a stressful time. The world were ever changing. You know, I was homeschooling, and that was interesting. And
how did you cope with that, with homeschooling? Because obviously, I love to delve into and hear mothers' experiences, and COVID was just different for everyone.
Yes, yeah.
And as a deaf mother, how did you manage that? Like,
communication, speaking up about what I was finding challenging, because it was a new situation for all of us. So we were just having to react, all of us really, in the moment, and because it was very unique. Like, how are we going to do homeschooling? And then when it kind of formulated, I was like, right, I'm going to give it a go. If I hit barriers, I'm going to have to speak up, because it's not about me, it's about my children. They need access, but I need to be able to support them in their learning. So it was just talking to the teachers, arranging one-on-ones if there was anything that I was unsure about, or my son was unsure about. It was more my youngest son that I was struggling with, because he really didn't want to do the work.
Yeah, I think we all struggled, didn't we?
He did not want to do anything. He was
hard.
Like climbing on the chair, having, just like physical pain. Like, no, this is, I don't want to do this. So I think for everyone it was stressful.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time we just were very chilled about the whole thing. I just thought, I'm not meeting with this angst. I'm not forcing this. We're just going to chill, because this is not a normal situation. We will do what we can. We're going to make it fun. We're going to be in the garden. We're just going to relax. So I didn't feel any stress there. And I just had a meeting one-on-one with the
Yeah.
teacher and just checked in just to make sure that I
I
was
mean, we all made
understanding.
banana bread like
Yeah.
every day. Like, I was like, it's banana bread. Like,
Yes.
we're going to follow the recipe.
Yeah.
You're going to decorate it. That's art.
I
You're going
remember.
to weigh. That's
Yeah.
maths. You're going to just do loads of banana cake. And we put on the weight.
Yeah.
And then we'd run it off.
Yeah.
And then, So, but other than banana bread, you were also making waves
Yeah.
in this campaign.
Yeah.
And so well done.
Thank you.
And I imagine you kind of went on a bit of a little bit I did. I think everybody did in COVID, where they kind of went on a bit of an identity journey. And I'd love to know about that in terms of your identity, because our identity all blew up, didn't it? We all grew and looked at ourselves, paused. Who do I want to be in this new world? So a lot's changed in the deaf community. What would you say has changed for you in terms of your identity journey the last 5 years?
It's been incredible. It really has. And the COVID was the last moment where it kind of gave me the moment where I was stronger, spoke up louder, was searching for my identity more and embracing it more. But if I can take you back a few more years, when I first had my children, that was when another moment where becoming a mom, I realized I have to be a stronger advocate
For yourself?
for myself because it affects my children.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was probably the moment. And then obviously life is so busy when you have young children and there's no time to really think about yourself. So, and then COVID happened and that's when it bloomed. And it was like, that's when I stepped up and decided to be more public about it. Just by the first thing that I did was writing an email to the school explaining that I would need parents to lower their mask and please don't fine them. So I sent and then they invited me to raise awareness in the newsletter within the school, and that created that was it. Everyone knew that I was had a hearing loss, and because it's invisible, so people don't really understand unless they're in contact with you and in conversation. And I also, up until then, if I met new people, I would only mention it if I felt comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you consider it a disability? Because for me personally, obviously, I'm around the most incredible deaf people, intellectuals, academics, and I don't see them as disabled. I just see them as very powerful people. So for me, unless someone's really ill, and they're dealing with medical health problems, I don't. I think it's society that disables someone.
100%. Yeah.
So you're someone that wouldn't consider yourself.
So it's an interesting one because for many years I didn't identify with that. It didn't have any connection to me, and when people put it on me, I got offended.
Right.
And I was like, well, no, because I'd been someone with a severe hearing loss in a hearing world and really kind of had to work hard at fitting in. I didn't identify with the word disabled. So, but now that I'm becoming a stronger advocate and understanding that I matter and that I actually have been socially conditioned to live in a hearing world and had to kind of just get on with things, when actually there is an option where your life could be easier if you just did this. So
or
I've gone on.
society changed.
Society for me now has changed more because I'm more aware of what, for example, my journey getting here. My train was cancelled. But anyway, we got here, didn't we, Hayley? Yes.
She's had a bad morning, bless her. She's a power source. She's had a bad morning, but and you couldn't tell. You're a joy to look at and to listen to. So.
Anyway, train cancelled. So now, because of my platform, and I shared it today, is Avanti have a travel companion WhatsApp. So I was able to jump onto that and say, hey, train cancelled. Can you tell me when the next one is and what platform?
Wow.
I would never have known about that had I not started living with hearing loss, because the resources when you're not integrated in the deaf community aren't available to you. You're so cut off from everything. You're just navigating this stress, really. So I was, and it completely eased my anxiety and like listening into the intercom, like I was like, thank you so much. It's amazing.
So if you're hard of hearing or a deaf person, you've just said something brilliant there. Like you have to immerse yourself in the community to get access to the resources. And sometimes I think that is really hard for certain deaf people, because I get messages from deaf people saying they don't feel included because they weren't able to learn sign language because the government doesn't give it to everyone. It's very hard to access sign language. It's very frustrating to see. And they don't, and that you've got this big D, little d culture that used to be where deaf people don't feel like they can immerse themselves. But social media has made it a little bit easier.
So much easier.
And you've, grown because of that.
Yes, I really have. It's social media it's allowed me to create this platform and to create. So Living with Hearing Loss, the website it's basically a resource centre. So we have a whole directory of resources on there for people like myself that have hearing loss, that are in like mainstream hearing society, that don't have access to this information. And unfortunately and disgustingly, with more deaf schools shutting down, I fear that my situation is going to become even more of a problem. And that
when you say your
me.
situation, what do you mean?
My situation, meaning because, I was diagnosed at 3 years and 9 months with hearing loss, fitted with hearing aids, put into a main school, the only deaf girl in the school up until secondary. And then I went to a school with a deaf unit, but still the only deaf girl in the year. So with little connection to my deaf community. There was no connection, and very much my family were all hearing, my friends were all hearing. I chose a job which I did for 12 years as a beauty therapist in a quiet setting and worked one-on-one with clients. So I had just tried to just make it my best, really. And I feel that number of those sort of scenarios where there'd be a deaf person going into a mainstream school and not having that
trying
strong
to fit
connection
into the hearing world a bit
being
more.
forced to fit in. I just don't. Sometimes I just don't understand why we're not going forward. Why are we going backwards? Why are deaf schools closing down? And what they think the trick is to put them into. I don't understand. That doesn't make sense.
So you think sign language is really important?
I think British Sign Language is really important to have access to have.
Is it something you wish that you'd had?
I do wish that it had been part of my mainstream education. I think hearing people should be learning it. The GCSE that's meant to be coming up.
When that'll happen, yeah.
I know.
Yeah, and it's hard to. So I have to interpret PIP assessments.
Okay.
Which obviously is a lot going on with PIP at the moment.
Okay.
And the assessor will always say, oh, so you're deaf. Oh, is your main source of communication sign language? And then that'll be it. Tick, tick. But then it's like they never ask, where did you learn sign language? Because I can bet my bottom dollar, if that person's over 40, they're going to say, with my friends behind the bike shed secretly. And that's the part of the PIP assessment we don't have, like where they're missing something. They're going, oh, okay, you're deaf, you know sign language, you need an interpreter, a bit of access to work, we're good. Actually, no, just ask a bit more. Where did they learn it?
When did they start learning?
When did they start? How did they start? You know, and has that affected their career prospects over the last 40 years? Because we are where we are now, but a lot's happened, and a lot of people don't understand that. So it's conversations like that I think are important. But you said that your identity journey really started when you became pregnant, or birth, or what, like how was the birth like?
So my identity, deaf identity, has changed a lot. It has changed so much over the years. And I'm so thankful that now I feel in a much stronger place. So when I became mum, that made me really, it gave me a reality check. It was like, actually, Amy, you're going to have to put your big pants on and you need to really step up, because you've got dependents now. It's not just about you. You can't just like quietly go about your business. You need to like speak up. And it was interesting. So when I had my firstborn, new mum, literally looked into everything and had everything I thought in a row, and thought I knew exactly what was going to happen. But no, it didn't happen like that, did it? No, it ended up being very different, and I hadn't anticipated how much I would need access to lip reading until I was in that environment. And now, looking back at my new mum self, I just wished that I'd spoken up more. At all of my appointments, I'd spoken to them and said, look, I'm hard of hearing, I wear 2 hearing aids, but there was never any conversation from them. Okay, so have you thought about this? Have you thought about having a lip speaker at the birth? Have you...
When you say lip speaker, let's clarify what that is, because not many people know what they are.
But Hayley, until I started living with hearing loss, I didn't know about it. So again...
So what's a lip speaker?
A lip speaker. So a lip speaker is someone who gives clear lip pattern formation. And I connected with Lip Speaker UK. They're a lovely company.
My favourite agency to work for.
I love them. They're
family
really
run.
good.
Really good. Pay on time.
Okay.
They like.
I haven't used them professionally, but as people, they're gorgeous.
Yeah,
and
they
I've
are.
got a nice relationship with them, and it was really interesting. It was just one of those like wow moments. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this existed. This would have been amazing in my situation. So my birth story, so it didn't go to plan. My dear baby ended up going into distress, and so it wasn't fun and games. I was fitted with a cannula. My husband given me permission to share this. He passed out and hit his head.
Oof.
Yeah, so that was fun. But then I was on my own.
My partner passed out, but it was just out of exhaustion. He just went for a nap.
Really?
But yours actually passed out
out and hit his head. Yeah,
because he was in too much pain.
Yeah, fabulous. So, really was not.
I love how you said he's given me permission to share this. You know that time I was giving birth and you passed out? Can I share that?
I had to okay it with him, but it's not one of his finest moments.
I'm sure there's lots of men out there have done the same thing and are going to make him feel seen. Comment below.
And the children are well aware of what happened. But anyway, daddy to be was down in A&E whilst I'm like trying to keep everything together, and hypnobirthing had gone out the window.
Oh,
So also I should mention, so I had this gorgeous hypnobirther who,
what's a
bless her heart,
hypnobirther?
hypnobirthing is where you meditate and into breathing your baby out, Hayley.
Can't even.
Yeah.
Look at Carl. Carl's like, yeah. You did a hypnobirth?
No. This is not
Woo
woo
woo.
woo. I'm
More
telling
woo woo
you,
talking.
honestly, second time round it worked. But
Can
time
you
round,
swear through hypnobirth?
well, hypnobirthing works when your husband doesn't pass out.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So it didn't on this occasion. It threw me completely
Not only
into
did you
a
not have
spiral.
access to a lip speaker, you didn't have your husband there because he'd passed out.
Exactly.
You wanted to meditate your baby out.
And that wasn't going to happen. My whole brain just went into a spiral, and I thought, right, okay. I didn't even unpack my, my whale music. That didn't even make it out of the bag. So
your hearing aids were tuned up for some whales,
and like just relaxation, and my candles.
Oh, bless you.
I know, bless me. I tried, but
reality hit.
Reality literally hit my husband's head, and that was it. So we then and it was, and I'm so grateful to say my daughter was fine, but it was very traumatic. And anyway, home, went upon motherhood journey, and just navigating it as a deaf person in a hearing world, and realizing actually I'm in baby groups and I'm feeding my baby and I'm looking down and I'm trying to connect with other mothers, but they're looking down and I can't.
So basically what you're saying is, because your attention has changed from trying to look at the world and figure it out, your now attention is on your child, and the world's carrying on.
Yes. And I'm not connecting with it.
You're not as connected. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So that was what I was discovering, and it did make me feel quite lonely at times. And I made some really lovely connections. One connection in particular, who I'm still good friends with today. But it was hard. It was challenging, and I can remember hitting some lows. Feeling really quite low and on my own and isolated, and I really desperately wanted to connect with another deaf mother.
Yeah.
Like, I was so desperate for it. I got onto the internet, scanning through. I wasn't even really on social media then, because this is going back 12 years ago. And there's no one. I just couldn't find anyone. So
what platforms were you on, like Facebook or Instagram?
I was on, just putting into, I was on Facebook, and then I think I just started Instagram. This was 12 years ago. It's not what it is now, is it?
Yeah.
It was just searching the internet, trying to find forums and groups, and I don't know, I couldn't make the connections.
But you had the confidence to know in yourself that you needed that, and I think some mums, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know what they needed. So kudos to you. Hats off for like recognizing it, because I think that's where sometimes you struggle, because you're so focused on the kids' needs. You don't look at what you need.
No. Yeah, I was feeling low, and I'm very much a people person. So from doing the job that I was doing for 12 years, was with people, but it was in a controlled setting, and it was always with good acoustics, and my connection was very much one-on-one, and I love people, and so to not have that, it was just it was hard.
Did you feel inadequate? Because obviously the show is about feeling inadequate, but also knowing that what it is that causes us to feel inadequate.
Yeah, I did feel inadequate in that moment, because I felt I really want to be the mum that's able to make the friends and create the play dates. And I was doing that, but it was hard. It was hard work. So I have made some beautiful friendships by showing up at the baby groups, constantly showing up. And even though it was hard, and yeah, there were some breakthroughs, and I'm still very good friends with them today. And our children have got really lovely friendships. But yeah, it was hard, and it was a new feeling. And so I wanted to strengthen it, and I didn't want that feeling of feeling inadequate. I wanted to get stronger. So I had spoken a long time about talking more about my hearing loss, talking more about the deaf community. I wanted to get more involved, but all during I was being a parent. And then when COVID happened, that was like, I'm like, right, I'm going for it. And I just thought, what have I got to lose? Because it really got me into a corner.
Yeah.
And I'd never, that was the moment, COVID, is when I identified with disabled.
Really?
Yeah.
Because
so I started to identify with that, because I realised this I am, because I can't access what I need in order to communicate.
but
So
it's
society had disabled me.
Yeah. And I think there's a difference in understanding that.
Yes, there is that is it.
And I think that's becoming more understood in terms of the sociological model and the medical model.
Yeah.
Whereas before, you'd have a medical way of looking at disability and be like, oh, there's medical illnesses, things.
Yeah.
But now it's like socially understood
Yeah.
more. But I would say people still have that medical mindset, maybe.
Yeah.
Because you said, like, people said, oh, you don't look. Do you still get that?
And I was in an intense social new environment, and it quite an overwhelming situation, and lots of new people, and I remember a few people saying, well, you don't look deaf. Like, okay. I'm not really sure what I'm meant to look like, but okay. And then, another comment was, say, I've got hearing loss in both ears, and I lip read, and they would say, oh, well, you make yourself really well understood because you talk a lot with your hands. And then I'm walking away thinking, what on earth does that mean? Like, do I have a speech impediment? What's going on? Like, I mean, honestly, like, in people, it's fine. I forgive everyone. It's absolutely fine. It's just interesting. Like, how have you arrived at that? At that
You
thought?
don't look deaf. Yeah, I think people they don't think before they speak, do they? And they think when they say it, it's understood. It's not. It's okay. You just said something really silly.
But there we go.
Because I think it is funny.
It's what spurs me on to raise awareness. So it's always, when I was in that environment and I was having all these like strange comments, I thought, oh my gosh, I really need to get more. I need to talk more about this, and I need to get it out there. And actually, people, like, deaf awareness is really quite poor. And we need to chat. So I did, and it's been really well received. I went from a place of, do you think people are really going to be interested, to now I've got a lot of hearing people that follow and are interested. They are
so
interested.
You run training sessions, is that right, for deaf awareness?
They're not training sessions, but I share my story of growing up with my severe deafness and in schools. And so I share my story. I then do some like deaf awareness tips on what's hot and what's not to do.
I like that.
Yeah. And then we do a little bit of a Lipreading challenge game. And then I also have my amazing deaf tutor, the lovely Zara from Deaf Signs, who
Deaf
comes
Signs,
in.
where are they based?
They're based in Redbourne.
Redbourne, okay.
Zara is such a gorgeous person, a beautiful teacher, and she comes in and she'll be teaching the children also BSL as well. So together we share, and I've also got my social media consultant Amy, also called Amy, makes our emails really interesting. And she had a cochlear implant,
Right.
so she is contributing her story as well.
Right.
So it leaves the children and the audience with a nice, like, wide perspective on what being deaf is.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that goes on in between, from mild to profound. Everyone's so individual. Everyone's so different. Two people can have the same hearing loss.
Yes.
And have different access needs and different experiences.
Yes. I don't think one deaf person either can represent the whole and
no,
I think this is really interesting with social media, because a lot of the time you'll be like, oh, one like deaf person said this means the whole deaf community feel like that, and I'm like, no. Like, or if you know, you have like Facebook groups and someone's complained and posted something, and you just have to pause and go, okay, that's one person. It's their opinion. That doesn't represent the full deaf community. You know, I'm hearing, I could never represent the deaf community. I can advocate for it, but I'm never going to speak for it. And there's like very deep understanding of how social media is developing in the culture of the deaf community, and just having a full understanding of the power of it, really. Because
it's so
it's such a powerful thing, and it can't represent fully one very, very diverse and wide community. And it just needs a lot of open-mindedness.
It needs a lot of open-mindedness and people to get ready to change their perceptions
from before.
Because this is the first time that this has been able to happen, where we can talk about all the differences within it. And so living with hearing loss is about trying to bring everyone into that umbrella of conversation. And I try my best to, it's very hard to, and I can't, you're right, I can't speak on behalf of a whole community. So I bring people in to share their stories. So we have a blog, real life stories of people who have maybe no following or some following. That doesn't matter. But it's about getting people to share their story and the diversity within those stories.
I think just now, like, casual watching or casual listening to varied like conversation is just really important. It's why I've like set up this podcast, because the variation of conversation for me is so important with motherhood. So what like advice, tips or messages do you want to give to a woman that's in a similar situation to yours? Like, what do you wish you'd known before
there's so much that I wished I knew.
Well, we all feel like that, don't
we? But probably the main thing is I wished I'd been in a stronger place with my deaf identity before I'd had children.
Right.
I don't like to live any regrets. I think each moment really in my life is perfect. It's all just folded. And it's all in its right moment. I've learned so much. But if I could advise a new mum who had similar hearing loss to me, I would encourage her to connect with her deaf community. I provide a support group on Facebook, the Motherhood and Hearing Loss support group,
Yes.
and that it was born out of just wanting to provide what I wished I'd had,
Right.
connection. So I just reach out to anything that they feel that they could get some support from. Put yourself out there, and yeah, I think that's probably my number one bit of advice.
Is work on your identity.
Work on your identity, get yourself out there, make some connections with your hearing, but also with your deaf community around the start of motherhood, because you will find yourself, possibly, you might find yourself in unique situations which you haven't anticipated.
And as a unique person,
Yeah.
it's going to help you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing I'm always saying when I'm talking about motherhood, or, you know, having conversations with mums and identifying what is the area where we are left feeling inadequate, and it's the lack of community.
Yeah, lack of
that
community
exists in the world.
Yeah.
And it really is as simple as that.
Yeah.
And we've gone from like farmland into cities, now into remote homes.
Yeah.
And we weren't meant to be like that.
No, we were meant to have a village around us. So another thing I should mention is I had moved to a new area, so I didn't have any family around me. So I didn't have a village.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of, I mean, you know, it's a unique situation. So that's why I was feeling it a bit as well. That was probably a factor.
And it is really hard to meet like new people, especially when you just can't be bothered. Like exactly. I'm just like,
when you've been up all night with the baby,
bothered to like be friendly and like, and then like, because I was a young mum also, I was just like looking down on me. I wasn't very confident. Okay. So it is hard, but you're saying as a deaf mum, it's like really important that you just find your tribe of people that are similar in deafness or hard of hearing.
I think so. Yeah. I think that would have been nice to have had. I really cherish the friendship that I made, and they're very special to me now. But yeah.
In terms of like managing social media with a hearing loss, because of like hearing like videos and things like that, have you got any advice on because do you use those headphones, or
no?
Do you
so I have Bluetooth hearing aids.
Okay,
which
so
are very
when
snazzy.
very new technology. When did they come into your life?
Yeah, so they came as a result of another a funny situation.
Your husband didn't pass out again, did he?
So basically my NHS hearing aids, which were amazing at that time, they were digital. They weren't Bluetooth, but my then boyfriend, now husband, dog ate them. Of course he did. Of course. So he ate them. Yeah, that's great. And so with the NHS, you have to pay a kind of a fee
if your dog eats them.
They're expensive.
Where are these terms and conditions?
Yeah,
like, oh so my goodness, how much?
Have to pay, like, I think it was £50 at that time to get like a new pair, which is nothing in comparison to how much they can cost. But then I came into a little bit of money, and so with a small bit. So I thought, what would that person want me to do with that?
Yeah.
I want to buy myself some new hearing aids.
Okay.
So I did. Off I went and got some snazzy Bluetooths, and they were incredible.
Really?
They've brought some sounds that I never had access to into a range that I can hear. So with bird song, so I used to be able to hear pigeons, and now I can hear bird song.
Oh,
But I'll be
wow.
stood in the garden, and it's something that I'm so grateful for, that I
Yeah.
can hear that. So, and with music, listening to music, it's given me, but don't get me wrong, I love to take them out as well. So I'm
Yeah.
able to, like, I mean,
Yeah.
that is like deaf game.
It
It
is
really
deaf
is.
privilege, yeah.
It really is a deaf
I sometimes think I
privilege.
wish I was deaf, especially when my children are like
Yeah.
literally tearing my soul apart.
I know,
You know,
darling.
my inner like they're tearing me apart inside,
Yeah.
and I'm like, these deaf ladies, they've got something special. You know, they could just
Yeah. It's
like
so lovely to be able to take them
yeah,
out, and it's just like,
shut
it's,
down.
yeah. So,
Got a level of peace.
yes, it's really lovely. So, yeah. Um, Forgotten what
So
I
in
said
terms of
there.
also that you've got Bluetooth hearing
Yes.
aids because someone gifted you some angel gifted you some
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then you've got some jewelry that you once I saw on
Yeah.
your social media. What's this jewelry
So,
that
I, with my younger self, I mean, I wasn't shy of wearing my hair up during middle school. But during my teenage years, I became more self-conscious.
yeah.
And so I was looking for something to stock on the Living with Hearing Loss shop to help fund it, because it's a CIC, a non-profit. So
Yeah.
it's not, it needs to,
You have to pay out
yeah, it's
and it's not
self-funded. So
yeah.
I needed something to make it sustainable so that I can
Yeah.
keep doing
I
it.
need that also for this podcast. Okay. This studio isn't free and
Okay.
we haven't got a sponsor yet. So
Okay.
just throwing that out there, Carl. If you want to put that there. Okay.
So I was thinking creatively, like, what could we have that would be empowering? And a family friend's daughter at the time was launching a jewelry business. And so I was really proud of her. She used to look after my children. And we've got, anyway, and then I was also in connection with the founder, Death Metal. Well, I've been following them, and I thought, I love what they're doing. They are based in Finland. And so I just thought, I spoke to Amelia, would you be interested in collaborating? And for me to throw the Living with Hearing Loss message within it, can we do a collaboration? So that's what we did. And yeah, and Pink Noise was incredible. It created lots of conversation within her mainly hearing brand
Mhm.
of deaf awareness
Mhm.
and eradicating the stigma that can be associated with hearing aids. I mean, they're very practical, but let's be honest, they're quite ugly.
Yeah. Well,
But they are, I'm
not
very, very
anymore.
grateful. But they're quite medical. They're just, I've tried
Yeah.
to make it fun. I've got like a gold glittery ear mold. I don't actually have Pink Noise on today because I said to Hayley I was worried that it would make a
Jingle.
jingle.
Jingle, yeah.
But you can go to the website and you can have a look.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I will.
Um, it's so really pretty, vibrant jewelry to appeal to young girls and for them to feel empowered with wearing
Amazing.
their devices, and it creating a positive and a uplifting conversation around it, and for them to see themselves in what was. And Amelia has just produced this incredible brand. I know your daughters would probably love her stuff, Buju Mimi, and the the girls just go crazy for it. So it was something that I just thought, I really want that for young Amy. I really
Amazing.
want that. Let's see what we can do. And, like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Let's just go for it. And that's what I've done, Hayley, with throughout all of this, is just put myself out there, go for it. Let's just try
Self-fund
and make a
and followed your
difference.
heart. I mean,
Yeah,
you've self-funded it, you've
yeah,
followed your heart,
yeah,
and I know that would have made a massive impact even if you just got to think, even if it's one person, that person is then going to impact someone else. And and I meet and I have to interpret so many school appointments where there's a deaf young person that's not proud of them and is hiding their hearing aids, or the meeting is about them refusing to wear them because they want to, you know, appear the same as their hearing friends. And that was you.
Me. That was Amy. That was young Amy, who wanted to fit in. Towards the end of secondary school, started to rebel because she wanted to be cool and fit in. But, you know, we all do it around that time, and, you know, sitting at the back of the class. But what's the point in that? Because you can't hear. What are you doing? Like, seriously.
So the jury is just like a big FU, really.
It is a big FU, and, like, you know, come on, girls, let's embrace it. Let's have some fun with it. And actually, you know what? The hearing people of your age don't care. They're inspired. They love it, because there's even, like, envy. But you get to accessorize something and make it look cool.
I think any bullies, they only go for a person that lives with that insecurity. So if you allow that insecurity to be there and you remove, then you will get attacked. But if you put something on and you change that insecurity to a FU, they ain't coming for you.
No, because you're showing you're strong, and they'll be intimidated, which I know.
And have you seen what's the sign? Gladiator.
Oh, Jodie.
Yeah, I met her recently.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she is
I
incredible.
need her to be interviewed on here, because she's again very similar to you in terms of hard of hearing, speaks, doesn't sign, but wants to advocate and show off her cochlea, and she's a bloody powerhouse of a woman.
She's amazing
and beautiful. Her eyes are like, powerful woman.
Yeah, no, that is it. That living with hearing loss it's all about empowerment.
Maybe you could include her new book on the website.
Yes, so I have. I've showcased it. I'm a champion for everyone. You know,
It's so lovely.
Constantly trying to, like, if I miss anyone out, it's not intentional. It's,
no, they can get in contact with you now, and
But yes, no, that is an idea for sure. Yeah.
Well, maybe contact her. I mean, she's a very busy lady.
Yeah.
She's an agent. But thank you so much for coming on here.
You're so welcome.
You're definitely a mom that I can just tell's not inadequate, but just leans into those feelings of inadequacies and makes them your power.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is, isn't it? Yeah. When you feel like, shit, I feel out of depth. What do I need to do? And you really just took the bull by the horns and, like, advocate for yourself, and just potentially changed a lot of women's lives and their future. And I just, it was lovely to meet you. So thank you for being on Inadequate Mother.
Oh, thank you, Hayley, for having me.